Hello and welcome back to another episode of George Reviews. And I saw Bugonia again for a second time. I want to talk about my second time reviewing this film that I overpraised and overhyped, maybe, or not. You just have to stick around to find out. So I saw Bugonia for a second time in theaters. The first time I saw it in 35mm, which is very beautiful, very nice touch. This one not in 35mm, but digital projection. Still looked amazing, still looked beautiful. Semi-crowded theater, but not too crazy. I even know a guy was kind of laughing kind of hysterically, but that was kind of part of the fun. It was my second viewing, so I didn't really mind too much. But yes, Bugonia. Do I still feel it's as good as I did when I first reviewed it? Yes. I think it's even better. Honestly, I still really love this film. Able to maybe have a more clear mind now on this video than my first one. But if you haven't checked out my spoiler-free review on Bugonia, check it out right now. It is on the channel. If you want to get my first impressions and everything, it's all there, and I shaved my head in honor of Emma Stone. But Bugonia, is it still the masterpiece I was claiming it to be? I really do think so, yes. I really feel like this is going to be high up for me. Still tying in with Poor Things as far as my favorite Lanthimos. I did rewatch Poor Things as well, just to, get it back into my mind. And I still love Poor Things a lot. I still love Bugonia a lot. They're both 5-star films for me. Now this time, I really noticed a lot more setup and payoffs. I will be getting into some spoilers as well as the ending in this video. And I typically don't like to give spoilers, but since I gave an initial review without spoilers, I want to be talking a little spoilers here in this video. Just to get it out of my system, to still praise this film in all its glory. I really have no nitpicks or any really criticisms. I think this film is really perfect. As apathetic and cynical as it is in its ending, as its commentary on humanity and how we've lost ourselves, how we are not for one another, I think is really prevalent, really mirroring our reality, but still kind of creating that Lanthimos world that we've come to expect within his filmography. So yeah, I really still do love this film. I think it's a masterpiece, and it's definitely up there. Definitely my favorite film of the year, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, I don't think Frankenstein or Marty Supreme could really top this. Not that I'm very excited to see those movies anyways. The first viewing of Bugonia for me, I was a little worried about the intro, the beginning, because it was starting out kind of simplistic, which isn't a bad thing. Not giving us a lot of room to dream, so to speak, to quote David Lynch. And yeah, I just felt a little worried that this would be kind of for the masses. It would be, too spelled out. But seeing it a second time, we get a lot of background for Teddy and Dawn's, the two main characters, played by Jesse Plemons and the other guy whose name is escaping me. Their story and their plan to kidnap Emma Stone's character, Michelle Fuller. And all plays out kind of how you expect it to. We get enough background on Emma Stone's character to, see what kind of executive she is. She wants people to leave at 5:30 if they can do so, but if they still have work, obviously she wants them to work. So it's this very mixed kind of messaging of corporate culture and things like that, which I found really hilarious. And it was just really just amusing to me, working, for corporations my whole adult life. I really, connected to that. And I thought it was really well done. And their kidnapping doesn't go as well planned as you'd think it would. Obviously, these guys are out of shape. They're not dominant figures. Take down Emma Stone. She kind of kicks her asses. She kicks her shoes off her feet and really goes to town on them and runs away, but is ultimately tackled by Jesse Plemons. And it's a really good setup. And we, get a lot of history between Dawn and Teddy, which I found really interesting and really informs their character without being too over expository about it, which I really appreciate. A little mix of show not tell and kind of tell a little bit, but not completely, make your film expository city, which, is a detriment to any film, in my opinion. But now I want to get into light spoilers to full-on spoilers. This is the stuff in the trailer that I felt like I could talk about, for the intro, and how I feel like on my second viewing, it kind of improved, so to speak. And so I just wanted to give you guys a warning. If you haven't seen Bugonia, please go and see it. Go see it in theaters. For the love of God, just see it in theaters. You will not regret it. And come back and watch this video if you want. Or if you've seen it, stick around and let's talk spoilers. So there's a lot of interrogation scenes with Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, and they're kind of back and forth, intellectual back and forth. Jesse Plemons says he tried it all, alt-right, alt-light, leftist, says it's a bunch of bullshit. Emma Stone, Michelle's the character of Michelle. She mentions that she has a background in psych, play these kind of mind games of trying to convince them that she's human, that Jesse Plemons is consumed with, these rabbit holes of content and echo chambers. Everything is, to his own bias and things like that. So it's very interesting kind of back and forth, and he definitely gets very aggravated and very aggressive towards her, which was a bold choice, I thought. Seeing Jesse Plemons really explode, I think he did a just really fantastic job. One of my favorite scenes is the electroshock scene, where to the background of Green Day's Basket Case, which we saw, heard in the teaser trailer, which I thought was really great, and I was really happy to see it here being played. Was really, really fun, and he really goes to town, on the electroshock and on the high voltage, and he goes to a point where she is in danger of dying, basically taking up all her electricity. The song's going slow and fast, due to the high voltage of electricity he's using, and she survives this, and he thinks that she is some kind of alien royalty. Just such a brilliant scene. It goes from like absurd hilarity to like, oh my fucking God, what are you doing, you psycho? Like, it is really, really well done. Gets her to the point of almost death, but she survives. Just truly a wonderful scene. One of my favorite scenes in the film. Very intense, but very funny. And through all this, we see like Don, he's not really sure that he believes that she's an alien, and he's very concerned about Teddy, but he loves Teddy, so like follow him through hell and high water. But he is kind of the moral center to everything, which I found really, really, really just great. I think the actor definitely pulled off the, he's a bit slow, he's a bit, troubled, but, he's like a moral anchor for all this, and he's just not sure about all of it. And it's just really, really well done, really well written, and really well just presented with this character. And we get the, not really a subplot, but kind of a side character of the police officer, sheriff's deputy, whatever, played by Stavi. I forget the comedian Stavi. You know him, you love him. And there's this kind of backstory of him being their babysitter, and he did some not so great things to them, heavy on the implication of sexual abuse. First, he stops Jesse Plemons as he's riding his bike to work and mentions that, he was his babysitter. But ends up showing up to their house, do more investigating on this Michelle Fuller disappearance. He interrupts a very chaotic dinner scene, which is another great fucking scene, as we see in the trailer. She's tied up to the floor as they're eating dinner. And it's a really good conversation on the moral and humanity that these corporations are doing. And, Michelle feels like she lost her way along the lines. And then it kind of reveals this backstory that Jesse Plemons' mother was in treatment care for opioid withdrawal. And we get that introduced with flashbacks. We see her floating in the air to, signify that, maybe she was abducted. At least that's what Jesse Plemons believes. And, it's just really, really, really great back and forth between Plemons and Stone. One of my favorite scenes. He's not having it. You know, he ends up losing control, goes on the table and attacks her to the ground and almost chokes her to death until she stabs him with a fork in the arm, and she topples him and tries to strangle him. Then Don headbutts her with the rifle that he has pointed at her. This is when Stavi, the sheriff's deputy, shows up and basically get more kind of background information on their dynamic and their relationship and how he did things to him that he regrets. You know, it's very uncomfortable, and Teddy just wants him to go away, obviously. All this is happening. Don has Michelle locked up in the basement with a gun pointed at her. And she's trying to, you know, get to Don's humanity with this scene, to get to his conscience, to really level with him, saying that this is a serious situation, that they're going to come for them, and he has to make a decision. And he loves Teddy. And there's a moment where he says, "I'm ready. Please tell Teddy that I'm sorry." And he takes the rifle, a shotgun, and blows his head off. And blood splats on Emma Stone's face, and it's very horrific and very, you know, cruel. A lot of people have been saying like his death scene was very cruel, but I mean, I think it works. You know, I think that he knows the walls are closing in, and he knows that this alien stuff might not be what Teddy says it is, and I think it definitely works for his character. He's scared and he's confused and he wants to do the right thing, but he also loves Teddy. And, you know, we don't know if there's maybe abuse done to Don with Teddy or things like that, but, you know, it's definitely kind of implied because he loves Teddy. You know, I'm not sure in a brotherly way or a sadistic way, but it is very, very interesting, like the layers of implications of abuse that can, you know, be drawn on to us as human beings and trauma, and how that kind of combines with us, you know, trying to escape that trauma by plaguing our thoughts with conspiracies and tragedies that we make up for ourselves to not deal with that trauma. At least, you know, that's kind of my theory with this film, not to get too heady or whatever. But yeah, it's just a brilliant scene. Even if it was cruel for Don, I really don't feel like it was for shock value, though. I know some critics have said that, and I will get into that on my other channel at some point. I think it definitely works for the film. Teddy freaks out. He kills Stavi. As they're looking at the bees outside, he smashes his head with a shovel, and then he gets attacked by bees and dies. It kind of deserved, I guess. He was kind of a piece of shit, you know, at least what he was revealing. But, you know, it's kind of sad to see, because he's such a lovable personality of a guy, if you see him in interviews and stuff. But yeah, it's a very, like, this is where things get really off the rails. Teddy sees Don's head blown off. He wants to kill Michelle, and she tries to explain that there's a cure for his mother. It's in this antifreeze bottle, but it's not antifreeze, which turns out to be a lie. She says it's in the trunk of her car. He goes, kind of breaks her leg a little bit, or fractures it with the head-butting her leg with the shotgun, and you know, really fucked up. And this is the moment where I was just a gap, like, oh my God, is he really going to do this? Is he really falling for this? Because I really feel like she's just fucking with him so she can buy herself some time to, you know, get out of the situation. He takes the antifreeze, he goes to his mother's hospital room and injects the antifreeze, killing her. But he realizes he's been fooled. All the while, Michelle, looking in different areas in the basement, she's able to kind of free herself a little bit, and she sees that he's done this to multiple people. This isn't the first time he's kidnapped someone and basically killed them. You know, he has body parts in jars, and it's just very disturbing and very funny at the same time. And so he comes back because he wants to kill Michelle, and this is a really great another great back and forth dialogue between them, you know, saying how many were Andromedons, which is the alien race Teddy believes that she is to be. To me, I feel like she's doing this to, you know, relate in his psychology, to really, you know, make him believe that she is an alien. I didn't really, you know, believe that she was actually an alien, which we will find out if she is or not. And she gives him this big backstory about, how they created the dinosaurs and then they, destroyed them and they felt bad. So they created humans, and now humans are run amok and are too out of control. And, they wanted to see if they are worth saving. Basically, from this point, she is offering Teddy to go to her ship. They go to her office. She has a wig on. Teddy is armed with homemade explosives at this point, and he says if she tries anything, he is willing to kill them both with this. And so there we have another climactic situation after another climactic situation. A lot of climaxes in this film, which is just so beautiful. She says that has to go to a closet to be beamed aboard the mothership. She has to type in the code to a calculator, and at this point, you got to think she's got to be fucking with him, right? She's got to be fucking with him, right? I mean, this is just solely absurd. Any brain dead moron would not buy this shit, but Teddy is, and he she types in the code. He wants to go in first so she doesn't get away, and he goes in the closet, then he explodes. And then, we see the shot in the trailer of her, falling backwards, head comes rolling out, and they did a really good job on the prosthetic head. I would say sometimes, even today's films, very not so convincing, but this was really convincing, I thought. She's then taken into a hospital care in an ambulance. She unhooks herself and limps away because she still has a really fucked up leg, limps away from the ambulance back to her office, and she goes in her closet and she beams up to her mothership because she is in fact an alien, which a lot of people might be divisive on. I'm not really sure. Or, that's one part of the ending. We find out she's an alien and, she communicates with them. She goes back toward the mothership, which is really well filmed, really well, just beautiful. I'm glad they didn't show any of that in the trailer. That would have just been too spoilery. They come to the conclusion that humanity is not worth saving, and so they decide to end humanity. Then basically, she has a flat earth kind of table model of Earth, and we get different a countdown which shows a image of a flat Earth saying 2 days or 1 day till this lunar or solar eclipse, and that's definitely very tongue-in-cheek and funny, and I really got a laugh out of that. That's just really great. And they basically end humanity, and this is what people, I guess, have a really big problem with, the fact that we are so just fucked, and we are fucked as a species that we all deserve to die. And maybe there's some argument of maybe the human race that does deserve to die. I mean, I don't know if I'm smart enough to have that conversation, but I think it's definitely worth discussing, and discussing with people who have a problem with this. But needless to say, whether you loved or hated the ending, I think it really works. Basically humanity just stops. There's no explosion, there's no apocalyptic disintegration or anything. It's just human beings stop. Their bodies, become lifeless, and during sex, during work. And it just has a great montage to a great song that the name of the song is escaping me, but it's a really great song. And, we see animals are still alive, so I'm glad Yorgos spared the animals. I'm not sure how it is in Save the Green Planet, a film I do plan on watching and reviewing, mind you. So, look out for that. But it's a really, great ending, and I really want to dive in more and get more interpretations on if it's hopeful or if it's cynical or somewhere in between. But yeah, I think Bugonia is a masterpiece. It's very cinematic. It tells a wonderful story. It's a beautiful script. It's beautiful performances. It's a beautiful direction by Yorgos. Everything about it is just completely beautiful in a very, cynical and fucked up way. And those are my favorite type of films that, can go there. And maybe some people are divisive on it. I think mostly it's getting very positive praise, with a few nitpickers who are just not feeling it. I guess. I don't know. You're saying it's not Yorgos' best film, or it's not weird enough, or it's not this, not that. To each their own. I value other dissenting opinions, but I feel that people can be wrong too. But anyways, but yeah, that's why I had a great time with my second viewing. I really want to see it again. I want to buy it on digital. I want to buy it on 4K Blu-ray. I hope there's a 4K Blu-ray that comes out. I really want to own this. I want to watch it again and again, just like Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness and Lobster and everything else that Yorgos has done. I really love his work, and it's pure cinema. It's the best film of 2025 and one of the best films of the decade, I would say. But those are my thoughts on my second viewing of Bugonia. Very spoiler filled, I know, but I wanted to talk about some of my favorite scenes, and I hope you enjoyed. But what did you think about Bugonia? If you did think of anything of Bugonia, please let me know down there in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you'd be so kind. My name is George Ray. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I really, really appreciate it. Please remember to keep calm, keep cool, keep chill, embrace great cinema, embrace Bugonia. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, peace out.